I call Mojo Mathis.
I'd like to take a call on this bill. As it stands, the Green Party is not supporting the bill, and I want to take the opportunity to outline some of our concerns. And so, from our perspective, what we see this bill is doing is weakening current protection for local New Zealand producers and manufacturers under the guise of public interest. And what we have here is an act that provides some, as it stands, provides some protection so that when goods are imported that are way cheaper than locally produced goods because they're heavily subsidised by governments overseas in their country of origin, or because they're being dumped here at a price that's well below what they're on sale for in their country of origin. Both of these situations do not create a level playing field for New Zealand businesses, and is recognised as such by the World Trade Organization. So the existing Act and the existing duties that are in place under this Act are compliant with the World Trade Organization rules. So the question would be, why would we want to allow it to be possible for heavily subsidised goods or for goods to be dumped here in New Zealand? Why would we do that? We know from international experience that the practice of dumping very low-priced goods onto local markets can have far-reaching and highly damaging long-term consequences for local economy. Sometimes they can take time to eventuate. And this is because there are very few industries that are able to withstand the impact of dumped products flooding the market. And in the long term, it's not in the public or national strategic interest to allow local industries to be undermined in this way. It is actually anti-competitive practice, these kind of things. And once we have lost manufacturing expertise in a particular area, it can be very difficult to re-establish that back at a later date when that particular product that had been dumped is no longer available at rock bottom prices. So, for example, the Fruit Growers Association have warned that peach growers in Hawke's Bay are likely to have to pull out their trees and get out of the business if extremely cheap canned peaches from Greece and Spain are allowed to be here. At the moment, there's a duty on them, they can't be dumped here. But if they are allowed in the consumer interest of allowing people to have extremely cheap peaches, then what that could mean is that we undermine the industry, peach growing industry in Hawke's Bay. And if they have to pull out their trees, they're very likely to reinvest and plant the trees and wait 5 years for them to start producing fruit again at a cost to the economy. At the moment, the peach industry in the Hawke's Bay region contributes $15 million to Hawke's Bay and employs thousands of people. We could put all of that at risk for short-term consumer interest. But in the long term, when the peach trees are wiped out and gone, and then secondly, maybe there are no longer rock bottom price peaches available all the way from Greece or Spain, we could have a shortage. It's not in our national long-term interest to allow these sort of situations to happen. And why would we risk sabotaging a viable industry that contributes so much to the region for the sake of short-term consumer interest? So we will be looking at Select Committee very carefully at what this public interest test is and how that will be implemented, and we'll be asking, is there any question of things like the peach industry being put at risk by changing the bill in this way? Because as we push out these alternative manufacturing and producers, what we end up doing is concentrating all our economic eggs in one basket more and more into dairying. And we already have an economy that's dangerously reliant and vulnerable to the ups and downs of dairying. So the last thing we need to do is to undermine other viable industries that are currently viable. We also need to remind ourselves that cheaper is not always better, especially when it comes to building or construction material, where poor quality material can threaten people's safety and homes. And that was all too evident recently when 1,600 tonnes of steel from China was found to be too weak for the bridges on the Huntly Bypass project. And it was interesting to see the legal commentary from Chapman Tripp that pointed out that there was no reason in principle why anti-dumping duty could not continue for as long as injurious dumping or subsidisation is occurring. If that's occurring overseas, then let's keep the playing field as level as we can. And as there was interest noting that officers have already acknowledged that adding a new public interest test will make the Act more complicated to enforce, reduce the overall effectiveness of the New Zealand anti-dumping regime, and make things much more uncertain in the long term about how it's going to be, the process is going to play out. And so I actually really want to know exactly what is the problem that this bill is trying to fix. A couple of speakers have mentioned that National is trying to justify allowing imported building material to be dumped in the New Zealand market as a mechanism for somehow making building houses cheaper. But we only have to look at either the Huntly Expressway or the leaky building fiasco to see where a race to the bottom can lead us. We do not want that scenario to be repeated. And opening the market, our market, to dirt cheap imported goods is supposed to be a solution to the housing crisis. And then, in our view, it's an inadequate solution that risks creating more problems than it solves. And shows a lack of ideas for how to make sure that New Zealanders have a roof over their head and are grasping at other mechanisms. What the Green Party would do...
I'm sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair. Members, this debate is interrupted and set down for resumption next sitting day. And the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening.